So I wanted a sailboat, but I wanted something a little different. Most of the time I'm going to be sailing on my own, so I went for a ketch, smaller sails. She's not a fast boat. She's no speed. She's no speedster. But it's a little different. She's got Perkins 4-cylinder, 85 horsepower in it. So she'll do 7.5 knots with the engine. The whole speed on the sail, like it's rated at 8.3. Whether it'll do it or not, I don't know. But she's a heavy boat, and my idea is to just head off for I don't know 5, 10 years, and just have some experiences, some adventures. So what we did was myself and Bruce did the deal. And then Bruce is the ex-owner, and he says, "Well, to keep to help you out and everything else, he wanted as much money as possible. But he wanted as much money as possible. But he was throwing in as much as he could to keep the price high. So he says, well, it's paid up until the spring, and this was like September, October of 2021. So we decided to keep it there for the winter, keep it in his name. I had a bill of sale. I didn't have to put the boat in my name until it hit the water anyway. So that's what we decided to do. Little did I know that everybody at the boatyard would get upset with this. So, without knowing that, I decided to get her sandblasted, soda blasted, see what's going on underneath, see what had happened in the past, a little bit of history and everything else. So we did this in probably November 2021, and I thought, well, I'll get it all done this winter and put it in the spring. Well, it got cold. It's Canada. So I decided I'll do it in the spring. I'll give myself a couple of months. But I got busy on the farm. One of the renters disappeared, so we decided to plant a crop of cukes for the summer. So I got busy with that, and before I knew it, it was launch day. So it's launch day. I got calls from the club. I got calls from the ex-owner. Chris, you've got to get the boat in the water and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'd already decided it was staying out for the summer. Because I couldn't put it in. She wasn't ready. So everybody was a little bit upset, but everybody calmed down, and everybody they accepted it, but they weren't happy. The vice commodore, decent dude, he was honest. He didn't want me there. I want a member. And they were very strict about what they wanted to do, what they didn't want to do, and everything else. But I had to look after myself, and that's what I did. So now it's time to get some work done. Everybody was politely, how can we say, politely pissed off. But I waved and I was nice to everybody, and if anybody needed a bit of help with the batteries or electrics, I helped out and everything else. It was basically appeasement on a massive scale. Some of the guys were alright, some came over to talk, some were just ignored me and everything. It was kind of funny. But we cracked on, sanded it down, did what we had to do, did the fairing, this, that, and it kind of it was going well. But my God, they were upset. Some of them were really upset. Some of them were kind of false too, eh? They were coming across as my friend, but they really weren't. And then you always get the naysayers. He's not going to get that done. That boat's not going to get it back in the water. They don't know what they're doing. And to be honest with you, we didn't. We winged it. Watched a few videos, did this, did that. But it's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. If you're a couple of degrees off, you're not going to miss the moon. So we just cracked on and smiled and waved. Was what it was, but we made the best of a bad situation. So as the summer progressed, so did the boat. Everything was cool. We were kind of enjoying ourselves. But as you start to progress, some people started to get interested and this, that, and the other. It was whether they were sincere. I don't really know. All I knew is they wanted me gone, and they wanted me gone pretty quick. And I was always reminded that basically end of October, everybody's back in the water. Everybody's coming out the water, and you're going in, and you're out. So we looked for another place. We travelled around Lake Ontario looking for somewhere else because that's where we wanted to be because it's close to Toronto and it's away from the farm, and it's like it's like a weekend away. It's like vacation. So it seemed we had a place, Port Credit, just down the road from this club. Perfect. I like the area. It's nice places. Take the dog for a walk. There's everything there. There's the chandleries. You can get everything there. Stainless steel nuts and bolts. There's a lot of selling places. It's a very nice place. So I was kind of happy. So basically, the lady agreed that yeah, we can bring the boat. She's got plenty of space and everything else. So I left it at that. And then we got to September. So I thought, better go to Port Credit Marina and pay up. I called them a few times and they didn't return your calls. Like it's kind of really laid back. So I thought I'll drop in and go and pay. Just make sure that I've got somewhere to go. So I goes in and everything else, and the lady that I talked to before, she was very nice and this and that. She says, but you kind of got to talk to the general manager, and he's in his office. Well, I went to his office, and the guy was a complete ass. Basically shouted at me, told me he was too busy, told me this, told me that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I just need to know whether I've got a place or not, because I've got to be out of the club. And then he asked me how old the boat was, and I told him, and he says, no, boat too old. Sorry, can't help you. So basically now I'm screwed, with a capital S. So for the weekend, I drive around all the marinas yet again, hoping that somewhere's to take it. And I couldn't find anywhere. And like, because of where it is, the club, you can't get a big trailer in and out of there and everything else. When they never thought about that. Basically, any big boats that go in there get launched at Port Credit and then get taken down to the club. So I couldn't even get it shipped out of there and brought to the farm so I could work on it, because that would have been cheaper. But well, what are you going to do? So I thought, well, yeah, I'll leave it there for the winter. Well, that wasn't a good idea either. So I decided to keep my mouth shut until the day that my boat was supposed to go in and that was all supposed to come out. Well, a couple of days before. So anyway, I put an email together, and then I sent it to the club committee. Wow, they were not happy yet again.
Nearly, I was nearly there.
So the vice commodore, or the rear admiral, or whatever you want to call that, they've all got different names. He called me, and he said, I knew you were going to do this, Chris, you don't want to move that boat, this, that, and the other. I said, well, like, there's nowhere to go, and like, I'm not getting frozen out in the lake, I'm sorry. So I knew that basically I didn't have to go. They can't touch my boat without me saying they're going to have to get a lawyer and everything else. So he offered I'll find you a place, but will you go? And I said, yeah, of course I'll go. I don't want to upset you guys any more than I have. Listen, but I've got to look after my own interests, just like you've been looking after your interests.
It's insured, bud. It's insured.
And that's kind of where we left it for a bit. And then he called me back, and he got me a place. He got me in a Hamilton. Superb. And like he says, will you go? Well, of course I'll go. Now, this guy wanted rid of me bad. He was by the book. This is a guy that dots his I's and crosses his T's. Like everything's got to be by the book, and that's fair enough. That's how some people are. I'm not like that kind of thing. Well, anyways, all's well there as well. He got me in there. I went and paid for it. Got all the paperwork sorted, and we were good to go.
Well, yeah.
So we got put back in the water in the fall of 2022, and it was actually nice to get back in.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So when we got put back in the water, we stayed there just in the marina. There was no other boats in there. They got all pulled out that weekend. And I think I left on the Thursday after. But I got phone calls every day, when you're leaving. Like, why's your boat still there? Like, guys, I'm not doing any harm. There's nobody in the marina. Everybody's out on the hard. But wow, they just didn't stop. It was relentless. So anyway, on the Thursday, myself and my son, we took her down to Hamilton. I just wanted to make sure that the reason why I stayed so long in the marina at the club, I stayed like 4 days in the water, was I wanted to make sure the engine was right, and everything. They were sending pictures of the boat to make sure, telling each other it's still there, and I was getting calls from the harbour master, when you're leaving, when you're going, we just need to know. So, the moral of this story is, get a berth at a marina before you buy a bloody boat. That's what I recommend. So now I'm thinking, I'm going to just stay here for a year or two, get her finished off. There's a bit of work to do on the masts. Electrics, I need to put some lithium in there, and a big inverter, 3000 watt inverter. So I've got 110 on there. Some solar, usual stuff. But I don't think it's like, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 3. Like, okay, it's like, I'm in no rush. Water tanks, they've got to go in. Pressure system, hot water heater, stuff like that. Like, every time, like, as you catch up over the next couple of videos, you'll see what we're doing. But the jobs don't seem to take that long. I've got the lettering to put on the sides of the boat, and the name of the boat. I never got that done. But the way I see it is, I got thrown out by the club. So when she was out on the hard, we winterised the engine, drained the tanks, did what you got to do, poured some antifreeze in the bilges and this, that and the other. Got a big tarp, made a frame. Basically, left her for the winter. That's kind of nice. Everything's cold. I had to go back a couple of times. There was a couple of windstorms in the winter. We didn't have a bad winter. There was one windstorm and one snowstorm, which is kind of good for this area. Well, I checked it anyway. So next week, fitting tanks, pressure pump, hot and cold running water on the boat. See how it goes. Have some interesting things that I'm gonna do, like move water from tank to tank. There'll be 3 tanks with a total of about 500 litres of water. Anyway, guys, have a good one.